Okay, everybody, we're ready to begin our first lightning talk. I'm going to leave it to Elia to introduce himself in the talk a little bit. You should already be seeing his screen here. Elia is a very senior developer at Nebulab. He's a good friend of mine, and he gave a fantastic talk at one of our meetups on Deface, and I'm really excited to see what he has today. Elia?
Hey, everyone. So as Thomas said, I work for Nebulab. Really happy to be here. And yeah, just want to say a couple words about our current setup with Vue components. Hope most people will know what Vue components the project is, but for those who don't, I will say it's like a nice Ruby cluster that can wrap your helpers for a partial. So it's a class with a partial, and you can use them inside your templates. I will direct you to like looking up the documentation on their site. The project is from GitHub, so it's pretty well maintained and used on the site. So nothing like too niche. Yeah, we've been using that for the last couple of projects, and I've been really happy with how it works and how you're able to, in the end, be able to like wrap the partials and pack them with their own CSS, JavaScript, and even translations. Have focus test for a single section of the DOM and stuff like that. It's more or less the same benefits that React will give you. So what I wanted to show here is more or less our current setup and a few tricks we've been using. And yeah, I picked one component, for example, this for the complete page of the checkout. As you can see, we are currently initializing that with an order and a promotion. It's not necessarily the most polished component, but you can see we have a nice app components folder with a bunch of components, of course, an application component for the basic stuff. And checkout namespace, which we have a few things. Among these, we have the complete. So the main file is this component.rb, which, as you see, it's just a class. And we can add like helpers here. You can say foo, and then you have some string or whatever, maybe a translation, anything you want. And these will act as a helper local to the HTML, which is this file. It's a plain ERB. This supports also, I think, all the main templating systems, but this is ERB. And what I think is the nice thing we did lately was to have like an identifier, a helper, which will create something like this. I will add it. Will basically translate the class name into, well, the identifier would be something like this, identifier, and then check out double dash complete double dash, no, nothing. We'll skip the component suffix here. So if you can replace mentally the identifier in all these places, you can start to guess how easy it is to like have specific CSS and a dedicated stimulus controller for this section of the DOM, and how the CSS comes along with the HTML, and you don't have those messy global files. And I will actually show how this identifier technique, we were able to use it in both the CSS and the JavaScript. And here, for example, is the CSS. And the real trick I like is that everything is based off the class name, the Ruby class name. So whenever we need to move a component from one place to the other, we just search the project for the complete namespace, the complete name of the class of the component, and we have the same translation. This is a trick we added to our Webpack configuration, and then we can use the identifier. It's a bit ugly, I will give you that. It's not like the best thing to see, but it's very functional, and we don't have any fear of having this thing clashing with any other class. So that's been really nice. If you ever work with any of this legacy stuff that's not being namespaced, but if you ever work with any biggish project with a little bit of history, especially in the CSS, it's usually a nightmare. And the more we move to this componentized CSS and JavaScript, the better was working on the project. So I will show you the stimulus controller for the project. Here, the identifier for the controller, which is the same for the same class, it's implicit. Webpack is able to derive that from the file name. And what else? Oh, yeah, by the way, we have translations. Those are specific to the component. So this is also nice. If you ever saw those giant translation files with thousands of lines and no one knows which percent of that is like, it can be trashed, usually a good chunk of it. But in this case, it's pretty easy to guess what you're not using, because the HTML is actually, like, you can grok it. It's 76 lines. You can know everything that's in here. And so we have specs for some of these components. We have stories, which is, anyone is familiar with the storybook in the JavaScript world. This is the same for connecting components. So we can show off different states of the component. This is pretty basic. So what else? This is how components work, and I will show just one more thing inside the HTML. I will show how you render a component for those who never saw view components in action. This is what you use to render a component instead of using like the usual render partial or helpers, stuff like that. So this is another one. You have initialization stuff. You can also pass a block. This is like feature flags and yeah, help context, stuff like that. So as a final thing, I will show you, let's close some stuff here. I will show you the component uses. Yeah. We added a few helpers here and there to just translate, basically translate from Ruby class name to component identifier and back. This custom stuff, I don't know if it makes sense to publish it anywhere, but like we have a UI namespace, which is all caps. So we have a little rule for that and other stuff like that. So we're using these both in the JavaScript if we need to, for example, in the body controller, which is outside of components. Like this is stuff that's coming from legacy jQuery that we ported and like kind of reined in with this technique. And you see in JavaScript we have the Ruby class name, and it's really easy to see all the like dependencies of one component. If it's not like very isolated, you still need to work on it. And the other place is the Webpack environment, in which I think, what is that? Yeah, we basically create a map for every component. We create a variable with identifier, and we kind of prepend it to the CSS code. So this, if anyone is interested, I can explain it like in detail how it works. And yeah, what else? I think that's all. I think that's all. It's I just wanted to give you a hint that this can be fun, and well, if you're interested, I'm here. One last thing before closing. One other thing I started working on, and I would be happy to find other contributors or people that is open to pair on it. I wanted to fix the Prettier ERB plugin because we actually have a lot of ERB right now, and losing time trying to align stuff. It's like not the most productive and intelligent work you can do during the day. So you see this good alignment, and then maybe you have multiple classes and you go down. And it's pretty easy. It's pretty nice when you are in JavaScript world, and this is done by Prettier, and it's done automatically. And I would want to add that for the reward as well. Yeah, if you're interested, hit me up, and we can organize for fixing this. That's layer.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Elia. That was great. So informative, and I think it gives us a lot to think about. And I encourage all of you to go up to Elia right now and help him get this thing that he doesn't think anybody else would need. You don't need to contribute it, get it done, get it open sourced a little bit. So one of you, when you need it in your own work, can have at least a reference to look back to. You're like, oh, that cool idea. I mean, of course, the talk's going to be online, but thank you so much, Elia. That was awesome.